Good morning. My name is Shauna. My Dharma name is SonHa, and the title of this talk is Standing on Your Head. Let the practice do the teaching. Around a decade ago, I started dabbling in meditation. At the time, I was working kind of a stressful environment and looking for a way to decompress. It was all the rage. Everyone was talking about meditation as a stress relief, so I said, thought I'd give it a try. I would open an app on my phone, sit still for a few minutes, close the app, move on with the day. I didn't reflect on the experience, and honestly, I probably didn't value it that much. Surprisingly, I realized my practice wasn't working. I wasn't any less stressed, and I began to wonder if I was doing it wrong. I was trying to force calm into my life, overanalyzing, reading about meditation, studying mindfulness, rather than actually sitting and practicing. That's when I discovered Buddhism. Probably like many of you, Google led me here. I did a search, meditation near me, and when I finally found this place, my life turned upside down. Today, meditation is truly a practice for me. And what I've learned is that the practice itself does the teaching. Each day it offers new lessons. With the guidance of my teachers and the wisdom of the Dharma, I now see that the insight doesn't come from just the theory alone. It emerges through practice. It teaches by experience, and my only job is to keep practicing, to keep paying attention. Recently, I wanted to try something new, and I decided I wanted to learn how to do a handstand. I know what you're thinking. You, a handstand? And why? By nature, I'm practical. I like the status quo. I like keeping my feet on the ground. I'm grounded, literally and figuratively. So the idea of flipping upside down was out of my comfort zone. And yet, even with this desire to kind of shake things up in my yoga practice, fear crept in. My mind told me stories. I'm too old. I'm not strong enough. I can't do it. I compared myself to others who could and felt the sting of failure before I had even tried. I was afraid to fall flat on my face. So for a long time, I thought about what it would mean to go upside down. I was intellectualizing it again, the same way I did with my meditation. And I started thinking, well, how can I get there? There's headstands, there's handstands, there's forearm balances, and they all required patience, presence, and resilience, qualities that I also want in my life. Around the same time, our Thursday Dharma study group completed a 14-month review of Chapter 3, Practice, in the Scriptures of the Founding Master. We read, discussed, reflected on 63 verses. Some verses spoke to me right away, and others didn't reveal their meaning until later. So time and experience often would send me back to reread a passage. And practice is the perfect title for that chapter. Practice to perform something and to approve. We all come here to practice mindfulness. Or practice just repeated action, a morning practice of meditation. So this chapter truly is a guide to how to practice your practice. So getting back to my handstand dreams, I kept returning to verse 50 in chapter 3. In the Red Book it says, practitioners of the way, who avoid all sensory conditions and discipline their mind only in quiet places, are like a person trying to catch fish who stays away from water. What effect will it have? If we are to cultivate the true way, we must learn to discipline our minds among thousands of sensory conditions. I realized I was like that fisherman standing on the bank, wishing, not doing. I had previously done this with my meditation practice, and I was falling into the same routine again, trying to do a handstand. So in May, I resolved to put patience, presence, and resilience into practice. Master Chongson once said, Make your resolution extraordinary, but your conduct ordinary. And that's what I set out to do. As I resolved to go upside down, I knew it would take practice, real steady practice. Just like meditation, I remember when sitting still for 1 minute felt impossible. But now I can sit for much longer. Is it always peaceful and free of thought? Not all the time, but I continue to practice. So I started to go upside down, and eventually I realized my clumsy little hops weren't going to get me there. I needed guidance. And verse 57 of chapter 3 reminded me, just as patients with a physical illness must comply with all of their doctor's instructions, you too absolutely must comply with the teachings of your mentor. For my meditation practice, there's a whole Sangha filled with teachers, and I rely on Reverend Wongong and Reverend Sean to help me move forward and progress in my spiritual path. So I found a yoga handstand teacher to give me tough drills to build strength and stability. It wasn't easy. But during this rigorous time, I went back to verse 5 that also spoke to me and said, no matter what you may be doing, whether you are wholly devoted to it or not, depends on how well you understand its connection to yourself. And further in the passage, if one does not understand these connections, one will have no patience when practicing. One will feel unfounded dissatisfaction towards one's teachers and colleagues and will feel like one is practicing and working for someone else. You must all review with a critical spirit whether you have awakened to what connections your practice has in yourself. I was all in. I saw daily progress. And yes, I fell on my face more than once. And it wasn't nearly as bad as I had imagined. Today I can do a headstand and a handstand and a forearm balance. They are not perfect. They will never be Instagram worthy. But that was not the point. The point was just getting into the practice, just like I do every day with meditation, every day I do with handstands. So while building up to these advanced poses, I filmed myself to make changes. It was especially powerful as I let the practice do the teaching. I was able to watch my form change and seeing progress I never thought possible. It was kind of like starting meditation. In the beginning, 1 minute, lifetime. Over time, you build endurance, that presence, that patience, that resilience. And I bet if I filmed myself when I first started, there would be so much improvement between then and now. And that's not even witnessing the internal changes. This intense time of body practice made me reconsider how I track practice in my meditation in progress. Let the practice do the teaching means the real lessons of mindfulness don't come from thinking about it, but from experiencing it directly. You don't need to force insight or judge each session like I did the handstand practice. Simply showing up, the practice itself shapes your awareness. Over time, it teaches patience, presence, and resilience as the transformation happens in the doing, not just reading or talking about it. I'll leave you with a quote by Aaron Hansen that I read daily during this time of my morning practice, and I still keep it as part of sort of like going back to. There is freedom waiting for you on the breezes of the sky, and you ask, what if I fall? Oh, but my darling, what if you fly? Thank you.